Have you ever met someone way too obsessed with feeding a baby that isn't even theirs? My friend's Monmile is already planning how to bottle feed her newborn, even before the baby's born. Is this love, control, or something deeper? Let's unpack it together. And you tell me, what would you do? Have you ever wondered why some people act like the baby is theirs, even before it's born? That's exactly what my friend is going through right now. She's 35 weeks pregnant, so close to meeting her baby. You'd think this would be a time filled with excitement, maybe a little anxiety, sure, but mostly love and support. Instead, she's getting daily pressure from her future mother-in-law about how to feed the baby, and not in a just giving advice kind of way. Now, let me paint the picture. This mom-to-be wants to try breastfeeding. She's not rigid about it. She's very open-minded. If it works, great. If it doesn't, she's totally fine switching to formula. Fed is best, period. But her mother-in-law, she's relentless. From the moment the pregnancy hit the third trimester, it's been an ongoing campaign of comments, suggestions, and flat-out declarations. Things like, "You can't breastfeed for more than 2 weeks. The baby will need formula while you're waiting for your milk. I'll buy the formula. I can feed her when you're tired. If you breastfeed, it should only be for 6 months, and you'll still need to supplement with formula. You don't want your baby grabbing at your chest in public, do you?" And the list goes on. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, wow, maybe she's just concerned, sure, on the surface, it might sound that way. But here's the kicker. This woman isn't just suggesting formula out of medical concern. She wants to be the one who feeds the baby, as in every chance she gets. My friend even tried to compromise. She offered to pump breast milk into bags so her Monmile could still feed the baby using a bottle. Thoughtful, right? But no, her Monmile rejected that. She insisted on formula being part of the mix. Why? Because it means she's in control of feeding time. And let's talk about control for a second. It's not just about the milk. This same woman has mentioned taking the baby out alone. Mind you, she doesn't drive, can't unbuckle a car seat properly, and has a history of mismanaging her medications and blood sugar levels. Yet, she's planning outings with a newborn without the mother. It's a lot. So. Now, this brings up a bigger question. Why is feeding such a battleground for some grandmothers or in-laws? Is it nostalgia? A sense of ownership over the next generation? A desire to relive the early motherhood days through someone else's child? Or is it a way to feel needed, maybe even more needed than the baby's own mom? I'm not here to judge. I'm here to open the conversation. So, what do you think? If someone was pushing to control how your baby was fed before the baby was even born, how would you handle it? And more importantly, where do we draw the line between help and overstepping? Let's talk. Have you ever felt like someone was offering to help, but it didn't feel like help at all, like there was something else going on underneath? After all the comments my friend received about formula feeding, she started to realize this wasn't just about nutrition. It wasn't about health, convenience, or bonding. It was about control. Let me walk you through one of the moments that really opened her eyes. Over Memorial Day weekend, she was spending time with her boyfriend's extended family. His cousin has a baby boy, and during the visit, he needed a bottle. My friend offered to feed him. She'd never had the chance before, and it felt like a sweet little moment. But before she could even grab the bottle, her future mother-in-law stepped in and snapped, "I'm going to feed him." Caught off guard, my friend explained that she just wanted to try this once. Mill replied with a sharp, "Fine, you can do it this time, but I'm doing it next time." Seriously, it wasn't her baby. It wasn't a crisis. It wasn't even her bottle. But that small moment revealed something bigger. She needs to be the one holding the bottle. She wants to be seen as essential. This kind of behavior isn't uncommon. A lot of new parents face this quiet power struggle with relatives, especially grandparents. It's rarely about the specific act, feeding, dressing, bathing, and more about the role. Who gets access? Who gets authority? Who's needed? and who isn't. And sometimes people wrap control in the language of kindness. They say, "I'll feed the baby so you can rest." But what they mean is, "I want to be the one bonding with your child without you." What makes it even more complex is that my friend has tried to include her. She suggested pumping milk and storing it in bags so her milk could feed the baby with a bottle. Still a bonding opportunity, right? But no, that wasn't enough. She insisted on formula, because if she couldn't be the source of the milk, she wanted to be the one deciding what went in the bottle. Let's be honest, there's a big difference between offering support and demanding access. Support respects boundaries. Support works with the parents. Support says, "I'm here when you need me." But this was a boundary being pushed repeatedly. Now, here's where it gets personal. Many of us, especially those of us who've raised children, understand how hard those early months are. They're full of emotion, exhaustion, uncertainty, and maybe, just maybe, some people want to step in during that time so they can feel important again, needed, relevant. That's not a crime. But it can become a problem if it overrides the new parent's comfort, decisions, and confidence. So, let me ask you this. When do well-meaning gestures turn into manipulation? And how do you tell someone you love that their help is doing more harm than good? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever met someone who treats your child like they're their second chance? Like this baby is the missing piece in their story, not yours? That's the layer my friend started to uncover. After all the comments, all the interruptions, and all the subtle and not so subtle power plays, something clicked. Her future mother-in-law wasn't just excited about the baby, she was claiming the baby, emotionally, symbolically, and in some ways practically. Here's where it gets more complicated. This MIL has started talking openly about taking the baby places alone, without the mom. She says things like, "You'll need rest," or "It's good for the baby to bond with others." But remember, she doesn't drive. She can't properly unbuckle a car seat. She often mismanages her blood sugar and has a history of being under the influence of medications that affect her coordination. So the mom-to-be, rightfully, is thinking, "You can't even safely transport the baby, but you want alone time with her." It's not that she's trying to block her MIL from being part of the baby's life. She wants her child to have a loving grandmother. But what she's feeling now isn't love. It's entitlement, a kind of possessiveness that turns every conversation into a negotiation, every offer into a demand, every moment into a test of boundaries. And let's pause here for a second. Many of us, especially from older generations, might hear this and think, well, maybe the MIL just wants to be involved. Maybe she feels left out. And yes, that could be true. But here's the difference. Involvement is invited. Possession is imposed. A healthy grandparent says, "I'm here to help when you're ready." An overstepping one says, "I know better than you, and I'm going to do it anyway." It's easy to miss these signs because they're often disguised as care. That's what makes it so hard to call out. My friend struggles with guilt, because what kind of person says no to a grandmother who wants to help? But this isn't about being ungrateful. It's about protecting her baby, her choices, and her peace of mind. She even tried to find compromises. She said, "How about we do feedings together?" Or, "I can prep everything in advance and you can help when I need a nap." But no matter what, the answer always circled back to formula, control, and time alone. So now she's left wondering, is this just her MIL's way of feeling important, or something deeper? Maybe unresolved parenting issues? Regret? A desire to do things right this time? It's a tough space to be in, balancing empathy with self-protection. So let me ask you this. Where's the line between involvement and intrusion? And how do you keep someone close while also keeping them from crossing boundaries that matter? Let's dive in. Have you ever asked yourself, is this person trying to help me or help themselves through me? It's a question my friend keeps circling back to as she gets closer to her due date. Her future mother-in-law's behavior isn't just frustrating, it's confusing. One moment, she's talking about buying formula and helping with night feeds. The next, she's hinting at taking the baby out alone, completely bypassing the mom's role in those decisions. It's starting to feel less like support and more like a personal agenda. So what's really going on here? Let's zoom out for a second. When someone becomes obsessed with one specific role, like feeding the baby, it often has less to do with the task itself and more to do with what the task represents. In this case, feeding equals bonding, feeding equals access, feeding equals control. But maybe, just maybe, it also equals validation. My friend's MIL is someone who, according to her, struggles financially, makes impulsive decisions with money, and has trouble managing her health. She's likely dealt with shame, criticism, and feeling like she's not on top of things. But now, with this baby, she sees an opportunity, a clean slate, a second chance, a way to prove her worth again, this time through being the bottle giver, the go-to helper, the one who knows what to do. And that's where it gets tricky. Because when someone tries to heal their own wounds through your life, your child, your family, it creates pressure. Pressure to let them in. Pressure to make them feel better. Pressure to not disappoint them. Especially when they phrase everything as love. I just want to help. You'll be so tired. Let me take something off your plate. But here's the truth. Love that demands access, love that overrides consent, love that causes stress, isn't healthy love. And my friend knows that. But she also knows how complicated it gets when family dynamics are involved. She wants her child to have a relationship with their grandmother. She doesn't want drama. She doesn't want to be the difficult one. So she's caught in this emotional tug-of-war, honoring her own instincts versus not hurting someone who insists they're just trying to love. Honestly, it's a struggle so many of us can relate to, especially as parents, or even as adult children dealing with aging parents. Where does our responsibility to maintain peace stop? And our responsibility to protect ourselves and our kids begin? And maybe, here's the hardest part. When the person you're setting boundaries with is blind to the fact that they're crossing them. When they think they're helping, but what you really need is space, clarity, autonomy. So let me bring this back to you. Have you ever had someone in your life who used help as a way to stay close, even when it hurt more than it healed? How do you deal with that kind of love, and how do you talk about boundaries without being seen as cold or ungrateful? Let's unpack it together. Why is it so hard to say no, even when we know deep down that we need to? That's the question my friend kept asking herself as her due date crept closer. Every fiber in her body told her she needed to set clear boundaries, but with every formula comment, every "I'll take the baby" offer, and every guilt-laced smile from her future mother-in-law, she hesitated. Because when you say no to someone who says they're just trying to help, it doesn't always feel like a victory. It feels like a betrayal. But here's the truth. The kindest, healthiest, most loving word you can sometimes say is no. Because when you're bringing a new life into the world, your job is to protect, not just from physical harm, but from emotional chaos too. So here's what she did. She sat down with her partner first. They talked about expectations, safety, boundaries, feeding decisions. They got on the same page. That part mattered, because in situations like these, you have to be a team. Then they had the hard conversation with the MIL. Calm, clear, firm, but kind. They explained that breastfeeding was their choice, that safety would come first, that help would be welcomed when asked, not demanded, that no meant no, and formula wouldn't be used just to make someone else feel included. It wasn't easy. The MIL cried. She said she felt pushed out. She brought up her own past as a mother and how no one ever let her do things her way. But this time, my friend didn't budge, because she realized something powerful. This baby isn't here to heal old wounds. This baby isn't a second chance for someone else. This baby is her child, and she has every right to lead with her instincts, not guilt. And look, if you've ever been in a situation like this, you know how messy it can feel. We want to be compassionate. We want to keep the peace. But sometimes peace means holding your ground. Sometimes love means saying, I know you care, but this is my turn now. And maybe that's the biggest shift of all. when we go from being someone's child to becoming someone's parent, the moment when protecting your child outweighs pleasing everyone else. So, as we wrap this up, I've got something simple for you. If you've ever had to stand your ground for your baby or for yourself, drop a still in the comments. If you've ever had an MIL, mom, or anyone else overstep with good intentions, drop a 2 below. Or, if you just want to show some support to other new parents figuring it out one step at a time, send a hetent. Let's make this space a little less judgmental, a little more honest, and a lot more supportive. You're not alone, and your no is more than enough.